You go to a party in New York and you find a back room and what's going on there is podcasting. That's the illicit activity. That was the joke.
So you're at a party and you were like, sorry guys, I got to take it to the back room and podcast?
AB and I went into a back room. We set up, AB got out his kit and he set it up.
He likes kit. He likes a kit.
I took the ottoman, he took the chair, and then this woman came in and was wondering, she was like, oh, I'm sorry. No, it's nothing of that nature. It's just some light podcasting. AB is going to join, but let's get started. Welcome to People vs. Algorithms, a show about detecting patterns in media, technology, culture, and, depending on Troy's mood and the seasons, sometimes berries, sometimes fresh cut flowers, other household delights as we get deeper into summer.
Generally waspy stuff.
Yeah, something that makes this show more relatable.
Yes.
To everyone out there.
Okay, so just while you're taking a shot at me.
Oh my God, you're so easy. You're so easy.
No, I love it. I love it. It's because I'm the youngest of four. I'm used to being tortured by...
Well, you're not the youngest on this podcast.
No, AB is the youngest, I think. How old's AB? AB could be anywhere from 25 to 45.
When I met AB, he looked like he was 18, little chubby-faced guy. So cute.
Quick thank you to Brad Robertson. He's a faithful correspondent. He likes to come with feedback, both positive and negative, to the podcast. He was very glad about the last episode. He said, one of the best. Glad the three of you are back together. 10 of 10, even with Troy's flowers. So thank you, Brad, for that. Very accurate. AB and I were partying together last night. The media party scene is not quite the same as it used to be.
What do you guys like together? Because you're both a little awkward. So how does it, what happened?
What the fuck are you talking about? I'm not awkward at all. I don't think so. It was at Joe Marchese's, his Casa Comos, which is basically an office in Union Square. But it's got a nice view and tequila. I think the key to offices that they've done is they've converted the front desk where the receptionist traditionally, I guess, sits into a bar. So it does double duty. During the day, it can be a receptionist desk. And as the sun goes down, it becomes a bar.
It's a clever trick. I mean, it's the same shape. I wonder if the receptionist has access to bottles during the day, because that would help.
Well, it's a spirits company, so probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Except that in my household, alcohol has massively gone out of favor, and when
nobody
needed
drinks
is traded with mushrooms and cannabis.
Same.
It's actually a major problem with my business because I rent out a lot of restaurants, and they have these insane F&B minimums, at least in New York City, and nobody hits the B in the minimum, but they don't give you the alcohol or anything. They just pocket the money. And I did a dinner the other week, and I was like, we maybe drank 3 bottles of wine, and maybe total 10 cocktails got ordered. And they're hitting me with some massive...
Can you take them home?
Minimum. No, they don't give you anything for it. It's a scam.
I don't know. I think that sounds better than what happened to me when we substituted alcohol for mushrooms on the weekend, and I got massively self-loathing and hated myself, and then had to go home.
Well, it does tend to open you up to other people.
Maybe that can be our first PVA live episode. We'll do it just on mushrooms. Show up.
Oh, they were beautifully packaged in little triangles and everything, and in a nice little sort of satchel.
Troy,
Yeah.
there's two doses you should take. There's the light museum dose, right?
Museum dose, okay.
Yeah, museum dose, and then there's kind of the hangout dose, which is a bit double of the museum dose, which makes you a little bit giggly, but doesn't get you all existential.
Right. Okay. So I maybe didn't do the right.
You hit
dosage.
You hit it too hard. You went too deep into yourself. You saw yourself for who you really were, and you thought maybe there's some things you want to change, which is good.
Yeah. That is the dose that the media industry is in right now. That's the media industry dose. So that was a little bit this gathering. There was a little bit of a conversation. It was about like the post-traffic era. Joe did a great job leading it along with me. Greg Gallant was there. He runs Muckrack. Craig Kostelic, former Condé chief business officer, I think he was there. He's got an interesting startup now, basically monetizing the social handles for publications.
Do you want an anecdote about these times?
Yeah.
Because someone, one of those...
I was trying to set the scene, Troy. I was trying to do like the name dropping part, but go on.
Well, one of those funny X posts that are like, what's the best article you've ever read? And someone submits this link on Agency, and it's a 30-minute read on how to maximize your personal agency. And it was terrific. And one little anecdote that stood out to me, which is a nice way to set this up because it's about the agility that these times demand, was a story about Wilbur Wright. And we'll put the link in the email when we send it out this week. But you remember the guy who invented flying?
Yeah, he had a brother, right?
Yeah. Well, as the story goes, Wilbur had a nice childhood and everything was sunny and bright, and he was on his way to Yale. Then a cocaine-addled serial-killing psychopath beat him with a hockey stick, apparently, and derailed his plans.
Seriously?
Yeah. Fortunately for all of us jet setters, Wilbur was obsessed with birds. So he sat in the hospital and ordered lots of books about birds and physics and the like from libraries because it was pre-internet. And he boned up on the topic. Around the same time, the New York Times, the sourpuss, published the story, "Man Won't Fly for a Million Years" was the headline.
Oh, the New York Times being right that early on? I thought it...
Wilbur, though, Alex, Wilbur was undeterred. And he called up his brother, moved to the breezy Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The locals thought they were dumbasses. But step by step, they made a flying machine. And last year, 6 billion people boarded one. And Wilbur was a high agency guy that looked at obstacles with, not as something that stood in his way. So this story has not been fact checked. This story was from an article on Agency, and it was about, doing unto the world and not letting the world do unto you. And I thought it was a terrific story about change, Brian. So if that's a nice way, a personal essay for me in lieu of a good product to set up this fine podcast.
Yeah, that's a good one because I feel like a lot of publishers, it's what's being done unto them rather than, they're not very high agency at the moment, and I understand why. And it was interesting to get AB's perspective on this because we spirited away to the wellness room and decided to capture some of the thoughts live. So maybe we can just play a clip here, Vanya.
Let me just tell you my own personal take. I've never my commented at the bottom of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal in terms of articles, right? But the level of engagement and the way that you feel connected to some of these different Substacks in the sense of two ways. One, most of these Substackers, you can reply to their emails and actually talk to them, which is pretty wild, right? I've tried to do that with the New York Times person. I never get a response back because they're busy. They're doing other things. Whereas the Substackers have to rely on that community the connection is so much tighter. The second thing is the comment section is actually really valuable. I don't think any publisher has ever fixed their comment section, whereas I think there's actually a pretty viable, healthy community around some of these Substacks. And so you say, okay, they figured out things that publishers have never figured out in the past. They have done what Medium wanted to do, and it's the reason why they haven't been able to raise money at the levels they should and they want to is purely because of execution. And you have two executives, one who randomly decided, I'm actually going to go white on a different platform, media commentary every week. So
terrible look. I'm not in the banking business.
But the problem too is that he has to comment about deals that are happening on his own platform, which is even weirder because it's like you can't share any data. It just doesn't make sense. If I was that guy Hamish or whatever, I would have used an opportunity. If you're going to partner with a platform, why don't you partner with a publisher? Go to the New York Times and say, here's the coolest thing we're talking about on Substack this week, versus going to a Beehive distributed newsletter and then talking about, basically talking your own book. It makes no sense. Yeah. And that's the problem. He put himself in this box. And so and on Lockwoom's first newsletter, he was asked about the free press. And the quote there is literally like a horoscope. It doesn't say anything. Like it's the weirdest thing, because the point of him writing anything and why you should have a writer is like you have a perspective and you have the point of view, and the problem is he can't share that. So
no, I get it.
Which is funny because he's supposed to be a writer and you should know that going into it. So I think, again, it continues to show the failings of the leadership. What's amazing is they've built something and they did it at the right time to capture this unique thing that's happening in publishing, and I think there's a real opportunity to continue to grow it.
All right, so let's pick up on this, because AB, one of the things that we talked about Substack there, and subsequent to this, they closed their $100 million funding round. Chernin is involved, which is really interesting because Churn has had a rough go of it with some of its content to commerce investments. They got it across the line. I think what's interesting to me out of this is that they got people to buy into the fact that they are a consumer app company. And that is what they're going to be. They're going to try to build a YouTube-like, OnlyFans-like model, which can be good. They got a lot of work to be done to pull that off. I don't know about their quote-unquote writers on that platform. What's your takeaway from the funding, AB?
So I know that's what they said in the New York Times, but the bond and TCG investing are not high growth venture investors, right? They're more growth investors. So I think if the app and creating this sort of next Twitter or X experience was really what people believed in, you would have seen Andreessen continue to lead, or other investors that are interested in that. I think the reason why you see TCG coming in is they're going to, similar to sort of what happened at Barstool, is it's the time now for this company to grow up and for the current team to probably step back, and some newer operators who understand how to really monetize the audience step in. So I think the app is a good path to do that. They need to fix the feed. They need to fix a lot of things, but to me, this signals like this is the next evolution of Substack. So it's beyond just the money raised, but how they're going to evolve the company. I think the one question that I have is how much of that money is primary investment versus how much you went to founders.
And what does the pref look like on something like that?
Because if some of the money went to founders...
Unpack that for those of us who are not as deep into the finance world as you guys.
Obviously, this data is not publicly available, but I think if you saw the guys cash out for a little bit more money than normally, you're not going to see people cash out. This happened during a last upswing where people were able to cash out larger amounts of money. But I think if you were able to look at the split, and if there is any sort of secondaries where they thought to sell some of their stock in this transaction, what that would signal to me is like they're open to moving on, right? Because you always have this issue with founders in the business, and bringing in your management is sort of getting everyone aligned on the go forward strategy.
Right, but AB also with a big headline number like $1 billion or whatever, raising 100, if there's 1 or 2x pref on that, it kind of makes the big number irrelevant.
Completely agree. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Is like there's like you said, is even though you see the bigger number, the new money coming in could require 2 to 3x in an exit, right? So they're not going to get back $1 on a converted basis. They cap table, they're going to get multiples of that.
So is this an endorsement of the model, or is it like a mixed verdict? Because I guess this is what I'm trying to get at.
I think it's an endorsement of the model, but it's a recognition that there's room for improvement. It's like if you were rating the company, it's like a C or a B, not an A.
How would you grade the company, Brian? I mean, we don't need to ask the banker about the company. We're experts in media. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'd like to know what AB thinks as far as, what the market is saying. I think that matters. I mean, I think with Substack, I've said it. I think they have a lot of like half-built products, and that I think is the major issue. And I don't think that they've made enough obvious strategic decisions. Like, okay, now that they're raising money, they're saying, hey, we're going to do advertising. We really are. We're going to do advertising. It's like, well, that was obvious a long time ago that that's where this needed to go. And they haven't done it. They haven't made the steps.
I'm totally on your side, but let's say you take a step back and they gave you a pitch that was really powerful and say, hey, if we had $100 million, here are all the things we can do. There's definitely a gap in the market where where are you going to go? There's Patreon, there's getting YouTube isn't entirely incentivized to optimize around like artists getting paid like that. And actually, if Substack could deliver a bunch of products that allowed more monies to flow into those creators, they would move out of YouTube, they would move out of other platforms. Could be a central platform for all sorts of creative, especially as the rest of these platforms are going to get flooded with AI. So I think somebody gave a really impressive pitch, and if you kind of squint and you believe that overnight they're going to start becoming good at launching products, it's worth. I would give them $100 million right now, because there's nobody else.
Well, there's only a couple of choices, right? You can get good at delivering incremental audience that means that you're more than an email service provider with a shitty app, right? You could do that, and it would attract people, and there would be reasons for people to join your network. Or you would take more and more spectrum, i.e. audio and video, and instead of becoming the next Medium, which is a disaster, you would become something more like the next YouTube. And I think that's got to be the pitch, right? That you have the network effects of a platform, and that you have a media type that has rich monetization, and that you're not a boring old text platform for creators like Medium is, which is of no value or of limited value.
Yeah, I think what there is sort of secret. I don't know if they actually thought about this, but they've been able to create this like unique level of intimacy between Substack writers and their audience. Brian and I talked about this a little bit last night, but the comment section, even when you compare it to what happens on YouTube or any of these sites, like the comment section and how people engage on Substack, I think is pretty unique. You can also, the Substackers, and they'll write you back. And so I think if they can continue to lean into that, it's sort of like the difference is that how is OnlyFans so valuable? Even if it's like 40-year-old like people were pretending to be the girls to respond to these people paying, the users are getting this increased level of intimacy that they can't get anywhere else, and then that opens their wallet up to spend more money.
I can't believe what you just said, actually. Is that what it is? Is that what OnlyFans is? It's an increased level of intimacy?
Of course it is, dude.
That gets you to open your wallet? Are you kidding me?
Well, it's
pornography.
It's access.
It's something
access.
More. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the OnlyFans expert, but I think they have a twist on that.
I'll tell my wife that it's not pornography when she sees it on the credit card bill.
I assume they disguise it on the credit card. That's got to be a feature.
I think it's just having seen the OnlyFans.
What does it come
numbers,
in
at?
Troy?
The spend on OnlyFans happens not on the memberships, but on the messaging, right? So like that's what, and I was making like the Andrew Tate joke, because that's where he made all his money, is basically writing back these people that were engaging with the different operators of these businesses. But the date, so where the money is made is not on the $30 a month or the $15 a month. It's the messages and the
oh my God, it's like Bloomberg.
Yeah.
It's like the terminal. The real value is always in the messaging.
It is entirely that. You can find pornography anywhere else, but people pay for that extra access and that extra relationship with an individual that they find appealing. The fact that they get through it via porn is neither here nor there. Right now, there's a huge audience that wants to support specific creators, and they're spread across podcasts and YouTube channels and Substacks and newsletters, and they're all trying to make money, and it's all dispersed, and it's really hard right now to manage this stuff. I was like, the Tim Heidecker show has a Patreon, and it's also run on YouTube, and none of these systems really work. There's a huge place to get something that works, where you have a good product experience, which is not Patreon right now, nor Substack. And I want to give $5 a month to these people that I like, so I can have access to content, maybe an extra episode a week. I pay for a bunch of these right now. And access to like talking on the, or that my comments are going to be not lost in a flood of 100,000 people flooding YouTube, and it's all fans of the things I'm watching. It's exactly like that. That's exactly how.
I think of all the things that publishers are going to look back on and regret doing, and I think giving up on site comments is going to be one of them. I mean, Nick Denton was onto something with Kinja and keeping the comments. The comments were additive to the Gawker experience for the most part. and publishers gave up on comments. And I think a lot of it was the writers and reporters at publications always treated comments like you treat like a porta potty. Don't look down.
I think the trouble, I think I have a hypothesis around that though, Brian, and I don't think it would have.
I know you think that you need to have everyone involved in the room.
No, I think there's just two classes, right? There's the one which is the very broad community where you need that type of scale to have an algorithm lift the most interesting stuff that is Reddit, right? And then on the other side, you need those hyper-focused micro communities that is like the Patreons and potentially Substack, where it's a smaller group of people that have all paid for access or done something to gain access, and they all feel like, you know, they belong in that little group. Anything in the middle, like a site that you just kind of run through and visit, it's really hard to make any valuable comment system.
The reason why, and I'm not trying to be weird with the OnlyFans demo, but it shows the contrast. In Playboy, you have a business that's effective is public, but it's effectively bankrupt. And you have another company that's been around for just a little while, couple, I think, 5+ years maybe, and it's worth billions of dollars. And so it just really shows that when you can unlock that, and intimacy is not a term about weirdness. It's the connection that you feel with whoever is providing the content. And so that's the point.
In fact, AB, like to your point, like pornography is incredibly easy to find for free on the internet. So the fact that people will pay for it means that there's something there that is slightly different and of value to these people, you know? And, you know, and that's why maybe they're making more money per employee than
well, I mean, historically, porn has always been at the forefront of most digital media innovations. I'd have to like go back, but like they've basically been the innovators for the rest of the internet.
Is this true? 42 employees, revenues of $1.3 billion. It's amazing.
It's a good business.
It is good business.
There must be something secret inside of there that makes it work.
I mean, one of the things that made it work is that most companies, including OnlyFans at some point, did not want to touch porn because it's so hard to,
Or adding personal connection to pornography equals prostitution.
So on Patreon, the most valuable category is porn. Like no one talks about it, but if you look at where all the money is made on Patreon, it's that.
And, you know, we might be uncomfortable around it, but like sex work is real work, and these people are finding ways to make money. And also, interestingly enough, with AI now, they're able to, so there's some stories where people are able to chat to hundreds of fans at once.
No, Elon's made a chatbot in another sign of how strange and bizarre the world is. That is some kind of like weird, sexy manga character or hentai character, whatever that is called, hentai. Alex, you would know. Hentai?
I would know.
Character that tells you about quantum physics.
Well, that's because he's an edgelord and a loser. But yeah, cool. Good for him.
One other thing off the Substack news is the free press has been talked about as an acquisition target already. Barry Weiss is a celebrity, particularly among like billionaires. I think billionaires love Barry Weiss. And I think that gives her a lot of leverage for what to do with this asset. Some of the numbers being talked about when it comes to like the free press strike me as like Business Insider 2.0. You get those kind of multiples. That's unusual in media. Is this an attractive asset, AB?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see some of these larger media companies, sometimes they'll acquire these brands which allow them to continue to connect or to start to connect with a new segment of the audience while not polluting their core brand. And so I think with this, even though the $100 million may seem like a lot, which is as rumored, you kind of always can tell when it's a frothy market when when the multiples being potentially paid for an asset switch from like EBITDA to revenue, right?
Particularly in media. I mean, it's just an EBITDA business now, I think.
So I don't know. I think that, CNN is turning on and trying to get better in newsletters. For another media company, this should just be a quicker way to get to that. There's probably a ton of revenue synergies by leveraging the ad sales team at a bigger media company to sell ads against this. I just don't know how long this lane of content lasts post-Trump, right? And maybe they don't care. They just want it for the next couple of years.
But isn't this I don't know much about it, but is this talent acquisition?
I think it's more than that. Listen, I think that Barry Weiss has done all the things that you've asked the market and media to do, Brian. I mean, she's done all the things, right? She has, the sort of philosophical lane. She's diversified the talent. It's not just about Barry, although she's the impresario. They have extremely popular podcasts. They have live programming. They have events. And most importantly, they have a good chunk of subscription revenue. And so they've done kind of like a high growth model of scaling a really talented individual against a segment of content that people want. And I don't think it's just Trump. Like to me, it's longer lasting than that. So I think that, whether the multiple is, too high or not, I have no idea, but I think she's done a terrific job.
Yeah, they've had a lot of success. I was talking with Daniel Halleck over there. We've been meaning to do something about this. They've had a lot of success also with their live streams and actually converting live stream viewers into paying subscribers. And I think this gets back to that proximity piece that you're talking about, AB, is that you're not going to develop the mass audiences that you could before, but you have to narrow that proximity with the audience and develop some kind of leverage, whether that's through some sort of ideological affiliation or whether it's just a personality, but you have to sort of narrow that and be connected with the audience. I know that sounds cliche, but I think it's really difficult for a lot of these businesses to get their heads around because they just are simply not architected that way.
Is this on Substack?
What? The Free Press?
The Free Press, I believe it is.
It's on Substack.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to confirm, but just so you can see here in front of you if you're watching the YouTube feed, the Substack folks have massively customized this template.
Oh yeah, they'll do whatever the Free Press asks. I mean, they have to. They can't lose it.
And also look above. The Free Press has an app,
and yet they haven't managed to productize any of it for the rest of us. Like Substack's product execution is like one for the books.
Could I just make one quick point? Because I keep turning this over and over, and I think it's completely wrong. There's this perception that being adjacent to billionaires means that you'll get some of their money just falls out of their pocket. Billionaires are notoriously cheap. The only person that I know that somehow accumulated a lot of money from billionaires is Epstein, right? Everybody else, you're not going to just randomly get given money. And so I think Barry has built relationships that is being invited to these things, which is great, right? It gives her access to all these things. But I don't think that's going to just lend itself to a deal.
No, but I think access matters. I mean, it just...
But I just keep hearing this over and over, she's friends with all these people, a deal's going to happen. I've seen a lot of billionaires look at media companies, and I can tell you, it's not just just because they have $5 or $10 billion doesn't mean they're just randomly going to spend $100 million on an asset.
Yeah, let's stand up for the billionaires. I think they've had a tough time lately. Yeah.
So, we've seen Elon spend a lot of money on stuff just because he thought.
Yeah, but think about this. Jason Calacanis doesn't get any of Elon's money. It's not.
No, but that's because Jason Calacanis is exceptionally ridiculous. I think. I think he has reached a level
he was
of
early in Uber. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he keeps telling us. Look, I think there's probably some sort of motivation there. I think you're right, AB, that billionaires are not signing checks left and right. In part because I think they get asked all the time and they put a shield around that. So that's absolutely true. But I think there's definitely agenda money in the market. Does it make sense?
Yeah, one interesting little side conversation, speaking of the billionaire, that came up last night that I found amusing was do they really care about media? Does Sam Altman really care if this industry goes away? Does Sundar Pichai care? And there was this sort of searching, and basically the answer was, well, actually, AB pointed out that one person objected to this, but that person did run a PR firm. Not that that's not true, but that's their job, is to put a spin on.
Wait, why would they want a middleman between the content creator and
that's what
platform?
I think a lot of publishers don't recognize. They rail against middlemen, but if you really squint, they're middlemen a lot of times.
And I don't have to squint all that much. I just eyes wide open. I think these are so there's somebody making stuff and there's somebody reading it and you're kind of in the middle of it. That's it.
Well, they don't see it that way. Nobody who is a middleman identifies as a middleman. I don't think.
I'm sure. Nobody wants to be that. We need to rebrand the middleman term.
Yeah.
It's so bad. In fact, there's one of those things that we haven't even renamed middle person because everybody's like, if you can keep that.
Yeah, you can keep that one. We can gender that one. One of the other things that like sort of has been coming up is Google Discover. I mean, this was sort of inevitable when Google got to Discover. We actually got a note from someone about Google adding AI to Google Discover and blamed us discussing this on the podcast because Google Discover has been the thing that's holding up a lot of traffic strategies. Most publishers that I talk to are trying to reorient their businesses, but you have to operate the old business while you build the next business, whatever that is. And we can talk about how they're going in a trillion different directions. But the traffic-based business still exists. It was pointed out several times last night that Google zero doesn't literally mean zero, and it doesn't mean overnight. And so you got to ride that as long as it goes. But Google Discover is still a major source of traffic for many publishers. And they're already dealing with, 15% plus drops in search traffic. Discover getting AI overviews is going to put even more pressure on this model that seems to be going sort of the way of the dodo of putting words on web pages. I don't know. What is your take, Troy, on Discover? They're coming for Discover. It's sad.
Oh, thank you for offering this beautiful topic to me. I mean, it's kind of boring. We already talked about this. I said, Brian,
you have to work with me. This is.
I'm working with you.
This is like improv. This is like improv. You don't. There's no like no.
There's yes and Brian. Yes and Brian. We talked about it before. You can't rely on these guys. And I think the difference is there was a time, I guess it would have been maybe 2020, when Google put forward the idea of listing abstracts from publishers inside of their product review or in the product SKUs on the Google shopping pages, so that they would essentially pull out the affiliate content into the SERP. And publishers, myself included, went ballistic because that would have ended the most lucrative part of a new revenue stream at the time, affiliate. And Google backed down. Now they don't care. That's the big difference. They just don't care. So you're going to get the optimization of an aggregation interface from Google, irrespective of the needs of the publishing community. And if nothing else, all of the noise around AI in the past 2 years has given them the freedom to do that. And now they have someone that they can point to that does links and traffic generation worse than they do. And that's obviously OpenAI. So they don't care. It's over. Done. Plan something else.
Okay, fun.
You're Wilbur and you just got smashed in the face with a hockey stick. Order some books from the library and make an airplane.
One thing to maybe help understand also Google, because a lot of people that talk to me ask like, why is Google pushing all that AI stuff? Isn't going to reduce the amount of ads that they can show, because AI is going to be really difficult to put ads into, and that's maybe true, but not every one of Google's queries are monetizable. So actually by changing that, they might be able to extract value from more types of searches than they could before. And the fact that your links are not showing up really does not matter to them. Like if maybe 20, 30, 40% of Google search queries are monetizable, because you're not going to monetize what's the weather today.
Yeah, they're going to avoid putting it on the highest yielding pages.
Yeah.
But what I hate to get all Google 101 on people, but there never has been, or probably never will be, a interface that is so pure and drenched in intent. And that's what's valuable. So when someone types in best toaster, that's a valuable query, or best life insurance, or best credit card, it's super valuable. The thing about Discover, it's just a news carousel. It's not that valuable. I mean, it's good for your raw traffic numbers to the extent that you monetize them with low yield programmatic, but the real juice is in someone typing in a specific commercially oriented query into the box.
Well, that brings me to, we're seeing publishers, including your former shop, we still say that, at like Hearst, do deals with Amazon for Rufuss. I think Amazon's kind of gone under the radar with its AI initiatives to some degree. And they're looking to bake AI obviously into the entire shopping experience. And they're cutting deals with publishers to provide their content for Amazon. And they've dabbled in this over the years. And again, I see publishers doing a everything but the kitchen sink strategy. They're kind of all over the place with putting bets everywhere. And so while they'll like badmouth a lot of these tech companies and their AI strategies, they're also willing to do deals with them. Okay. And I think this Amazon deal is interesting for when it comes to what's going to happen to a lot of the quote unquote commerce content that was always affiliate content, that was always SEO content for the most part. And I don't know, have you looked into this and what is behind, is this like a one of the pathways for publishers going forward, Troy?
I mean, when someone's sliding food under the cell door, you don't usually say, is it Michelin starred? I mean, sure, I'll take it.
Just as long as it doesn't have any of the truffle. I don't like truffles put on too many things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you take it for, you diversify and take the money, and you hope that you can still maintain your affiliate business.
Excellent. Inspiring. All right, where do we go from there?
That was very uplifting.
I know. Oh, let's talk a little bit about one of the things that that keeps coming. I'm like obsessed with this idea of like we're going into a post-text era. And, I think everyone a lot of publishers are trying to get out of the text on web page business. One of the areas that I think is interesting is live streaming. The information came out with a very awkwardly named TITV this week, which is basically a TBPN clone. Now, we talked about TBN a little while ago, I feel like, on this podcast. And
I thought it was an OnlyFans clone.
Is it?
I don't know.
And it's a live stream. It's an odd
acronym.
It's a live stream tech show that they do it every day, and the information is sort of cloning it a little bit. And to me, it's interesting because I do think that there is something there with, and we talk about this a lot. Alex has pushed it a lot, that you need to be participatory. And the live element is a little bit of a shtick because the real value comes in the clips that come off these programs. But to me, the interactive element of like live streams is really interesting. And I think it's an area that we're going to see a lot more publishers go to as they try to figure out what comes after the web page.
I think the funny, okay, so you look at this and it's like, guys, if you wanted to copy the whatever Jordy and John, it's like, this looks like crap, right? It's like literally in someone's cubicle.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it's in between. You either have to go full kitchen table or you need real studio.
I don't think it's that hard.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's you're basically dealing with a distributed workforce. I think as much as people are saying they're copying, I kind of disagree. A lot of publishers and a lot of newsrooms are trying to elevate their writing staff to become more forward-facing instead of the New York Times is doing this. A lot of people are pushing people to do more video. And this is like the easy way to do a video strategy is to do a longer format and then clip it up.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so turning on your cameras at 1:00 each day and calling that, live TV is, I guess, similar to what we've experienced before. What really makes live is that you are there, you're reporting, you have correspondence. Like a podcast that happens to be at 1:00 and is recorded, to me, is just a podcast that you start recording at 1 and you
it's
make
a
it
webinar.
live.
That's what it is.
It's a webinar.
But you can turn it into a show, I think.
Sure.
I'm very bullish on webinars. You guys know
right. So
that.
what's the fundamental difference in format between something pre-recorded and something live is that there's, it corresponds to something happening in the world that needs live commentary. It's totally up to the minute, or that the content itself is unexpected because it's live, right? So you get that element to it. I think that the other thing I've tried this myself, like before it was a thing. I used to do live. We tried it off Cosmo. We tried it in a couple places. You rarely get any distribution on the live stream because why would you, right? Why would you tune in? Like, you're a busy person, 1:00, tune into the information. You just wouldn't. So it is, a good source of content. But the thing that it says to me is how fucked cable is, because it shows you that basically now with production technology and distribution that all media is multimedia. All media can be live. It's super inexpensive to do. And the whole construct that we had kind of separated media by different media types is kind of coming to an end. That's what it says to me.
I watch a lot of live TV. There's one by Tim Heidecker, the guy from the Tim and Eric show. And there's one by these two dudes that do a show on StockTwits called The Weekend Rip. And they're actually...
you watch the same thing as my 25-year-old son.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fucking...
You're a child.
I'm a child. Which would maybe place me as somebody that knows more about what the fuck I'm talking about on this show.
That's true.
Ouch.
That's a flex.
You got
Right?
me. You got me, Alex.
And then just because I'm a digital native...
Stop pointing at me. It's so rude.
Because I'm a digital native, I pointed straight into the camera because I know that's going to cut well for socials. No, but and they're all monetizing it.
I thought you had COVID. You're pretty lively for a guy that's got COVID.
The Theraflu is kicking in. And the interesting thing is that they all try to monetize it. There's like, you can kind of buy the premium version on YouTube, but it's such a mess. It's so all over the place that I think that going back to the Substack thing, if Substack or another company built a product made for these types of smaller communities, I was watching a Tim Heidecker interview. He says his audience is way smaller now than when he had that show on TV, but he actually enjoys it more, likely makes more money, gets all the revenue, and gets to produce his own show and do all the crazy shit without any middleman. And
what's that one? What was that one?
Oh, they make a fake ad. They have a city of the day, and they always have a fake ad for the city of the day. This one was for, instead of horseback riding, it's a saddle for horse front riding. It's very good. So, This makes me laugh. It doesn't make everyone laugh, but I think that when you look at the information, to AB's point, that thing looks like ass, and then you have,
look at the
folks that are actually putting
sophistication,
an effort.
Alex. Amazing, right? Like
this
is like
engaging.
independent content that's like the level of the Daily Show.
It's engaging. They do a lot. So, but like I said, I think there's a space for a product that handles this. YouTube is too big and too broad to really focus on this stuff, and audiences are ready to put their money and go through the hassle of downloading a new app where you can access this type of content if it gives you access. I think it's huge.
The live element is kind of like radio. It's like the simplest form is before TV. It's more like radio, right? It's like you had to tune in. The point I was making on the information is like being around a bunch of fast growing media companies to have like a nice background and stuff. If you just take a producer from Fox and drop them in, it's so easy it's hundreds of dollars to build out nicer backgrounds and things like that. So
it does show a little bit of complacency where you're like, buy a better camera. I mean, it took us like 9 months for these guys to buy and you're still not there. But like, if you're going to take it seriously, have a $600 package, AB, right? Like a little camera, a better mic, a background, a $95 Amazon, ring light that you put in front of it. And all of a sudden you look a lot better. I mean, you can see that I look a lot better. It's maybe a $2,000 setup. Troy is probably like
I need you to
$20.
say,
you look like a porn star.
I do?
Well, that's why I make that big money.
I need
Also,
you to
guys, if you
that.
want to, this podcast is entirely a pathway into my OnlyFans, that's the way you do the marketing. So,
Brian, I can help you elegantly transition this conversation if you want. I'll set this up by saying that AB plays, spreadsheets like a fiddle player. Like he's good, and it's one of the things
Pivot
that
tables
I admire.
and whatnot.
Yeah, but fast. Like he knows where the form. He can do it while we're talking, right? It's very sexy.
Yeah, but that
And
skill's going out the window.
this is what I wanted to get at, because while we're talking about the want and the sadness in media and stuff, which we're getting tired of, quite frankly, and agency, it's interesting to see. I thought there were two examples of disruption that you start to see it filter into the whole, like places that never were disrupted before. And the two examples I would give you this week is OpenAI is releasing a new model tuned to making decks and spreadsheets. The monopoly of interface into spreadsheets and decks was only challenged maybe a decade ago by Google, right? Where they challenged PowerPoint and Excel with their own products. But really, Microsoft has harvested that asset for years and years and years. And now we're about to see the ability to, like, when suddenly you can make spreadsheets in OpenAI, and it becomes another interface to make and edit a spreadsheet, when you don't have to know Byzantine commands to make the table work or to perform, complex functions. It's really interesting. Like, if you're over at Microsoft, this is apparently one of the reasons that there's a bit of tension between Microsoft and OpenAI, because they're potentially, about to disrupt this really, really valuable interface to managing tables in the world, which is Excel, right? And I thought that was an interesting one. The other one I would throw in there, and then I'll get your feedback, AB. The other was, you kind of don't see sometimes the disruption till it comes and bites you in the ass. And, faced with the dominance of one kind of tournament owner in golf, the PGA, right? That had kind of an iron lock on all of the talent, the media rights, and, and the events inside of that sport. The Saudis funded Live, poured tons of money in, gave out egregious contracts to golfers, and tried to create a second association or league or whatever. And now what you're seeing is this thing that we talked about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, which is the rise of golf culture. Actually started in COVID, but like on YouTube, is really changing where the action is in the game. It's bridging the professional sport to it being a social, casual, fun event with friends and community. There's all kinds of new formats where they try to get under 50, on a course, or buddies play together, or they try these really difficult, there's all these challenges. And then there's like fashion also forming around it, and where it becomes like, bigger than golf. It really does become a kind of lifestyle thing. And so I just thought that was really interesting, that you kind of blink and the PGA's dominance over the sport is eroding, and it's happening because of creators on YouTube. AB, your thoughts?
Okay, so the first one is the valuable unlock in professional services with AI is not, material creation is like the cheapest thing that we do. The valuable thing in the way that I use it today, so typically you sit with a management team, you talk about slides, someone's having to take notes, you take those notes back and you try to make the pages and recreate what you talked about. And the value of AI today is you can just record that meeting.
I love it when you do that with me. I honestly feel like I'm going to like...
Teaching?
With teaching and going to the doctor or a massage therapist.
But the value is the conversion of like a human conversation to the material. That even today banks leverage offshore folks to make the actual slides. So yes, it's going to be great and it's going to save a bunch of time, but the real unlock has already happened, which is record a conversation, obviously do mail about it, whatever, but you're taking, the AI can capture the context and much more quickly move it into the slides. So something that used to take like 3 days now takes a couple hours.
Yeah, I think that's like already the big unlock for me. It's like I have conversations with clients about doing like something like a webinar or something, and just being able to translate that into the planning document, like it's just like it wipes out like a ton of time.
And Brian, to your point, I'm not anti-text. I just feel that for the longest time, we thought that the written word was the best way to communicate information.
It is the best way to communicate
information. I don't think it is, and I don't think it is for everyone. And
entertainment is best done through video.
Well, then instead of doing keynote presentation, why don't we send everyone a memo?
I agree.
I agree too.
Yeah, absolutely. I sell off a Google Doc. That's what I do.
Words are the equivalent of machine code in.
If people can't read a Google Doc, we shouldn't work.
You can't communicate certain things with words only that you can communicate with image and sound and everything.
Let me just give you 2 seconds on that golf thing. I think the PGA could have actually led on it, but you had an organization that tried to ring fence around all the IP and make very like stringent rules around how it could be used. Like they could be easily leading on this, but like Liv was able to come in, like Liv was able to be created because of how frustrated the players were, right? You had like an outdated product that was doing events every week. The best players weren't showing up to all the events. There's a ton of frustration. So Saudi Arabia was able to get to players with more than just money. Like there was frustration about how their image and likeness can be used to all these things. And so all these smaller golf brands exist because like there's a ton of interest from younger people to engage, and people don't want to watch. And this is like the secret with Formula One. Most people that watch Netflix shows don't watch the races. The races in the show are completely different, right? So people can have an affinity to a sport, but want to consume it in different ways. And that's what these different YouTube channels have done, right? They make it fun. You have characters that can do things like Bryson DeChambeau can hit so fast and fit so far. And that's fun to match them up with other people and to do competitions around that and not watch. Watching golf tournament is really fucking boring.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So, okay, I got to hop, guys. Sorry.
All right,
Bye.
CAB. This actually came up because our PVA YouTube golf correspondent, Michael Weinstein, had sent in a tip about how Grant Horvat, who used to be part of the Good Golf group that we've talked about before, he had a little kerfuffle, is a little bit of a marketing shtick, if you ask me, when he declined an invitation to a PGA Tour event because they would not allow him to film his play of the tournament and post it on his YouTube channel. And, you know, it was kind of symbolic about how a YouTuber would decline a PGA Tour invite and where and I think we're seeing this throughout media, is, you know, the power dynamics are completely changed, right? I mean, you have FS1 is pursuing a deal with Barstool Sports to have Dave Portnoy in their college football show because they have to compete against ESPN, which has Pat McAfee on their show. And by the way, Pat McAfee is able to take shots at ESPN executives that if he was a normal, quote unquote, talent at ESPN, he would get suspended for. And Dave Portnoy, to put it mildly, has a bit of a checkered history to be brought in there. So definitely shows that the pendulum has swung towards the individuals from the institutions. All right, should we talk about AI Slop?
Hit it.
Quickly, because I got a hard stop.
All right, you've got a hard stop and you've got COVID.
My meds are running out, like in real time. I'm feeling.
First thing is, I want to get into this Grok 4 that came out. I know you're known for your Elon support. He debuted it with showing it basically coding a video game. He said that we'll see the first, in his words, really good AI video game.
Why are you rage baiting, Alex?
Next year. It helps work out the congestion.
Yeah.
So Alex, is this coming for you? I mean, everyone thought it was all fun when AI was coming for me and my words. Everyone thought it was a big hoot. And then they came for AB's spreadsheets. And now they're coming for your video games.
I don't think it's a bit, look, I think there's an inevitability, obviously, you know, to this where this stuff is just going to get better and better. It's going to replace a lot of labor that get put into things. I think we also reached a threshold with Google's Google Flow thing that allows you to keep consistent characters. And there's also, and there's lots of jobs that are at risk, right? The question is like, should I be upset that video games are going to be easier to make as somebody who makes video games? Maybe not. Maybe that's very helpful for me as we kind of want to keep the team smaller, be more ambitious and do more stuff. It's definitely coming for all of us. I think the only thing that's going to really slow this down is adoption. I think there's a pretty severe pushback and ickiness factor that people seem to respond to. Like in a lot of, when people are asked, they say, you know, they hate it. Yet,
what,
you know,
AI video games or
people hate AI. People don't like
people
AI.
hate
AI
it.
is so
People don't like
uncool.
it. It's like a Bluetooth headset before Apple released AirPods. At some point, there's going to be an AI version of the AirPods, and people are going to wear it in coffee shops.
Okay, so we're in the Bluetooth phase.
we had a dinner last night. We had some folks over for dinner. My son was there with his friend and a couple other young people, and they were all going off on Adventure Time. And I was like, hey guys, I'm going to give you a 10-question multiple choice test on deep Adventure Time. And so I typed that into the AI and I created a quiz for them just to see who was really up to speed on the deep. Adventure Time is a cult cartoon show that Alex probably watches.
I kind of wish you would ask me. you have any other questions here?
And then I did it with AI, and they were all like super negative. Like they hate AI, the kids.
Yeah. A lot of kids hate AI.
Well, who can blame them? I mean, again, this technology has been introduced and gone after the quote unquote like low hanging fruit of like creative labor, not after like cancer and whatnot. So I understand. It's really interesting to me how it's been presented like on a marketing level, because it's overwhelmingly negative. It's like it's going to take everyone's jobs. It might end humanity.
There's so many things. Why
are we doing this? I think normal people would just ask, why are we doing this?
Yeah, there's also something that I think feels uncanny, and for forgetting, like, let's say even if you said, well, it was created in ethical ways, or all these things I think there's something that feels like uncanny and uncomfortable about creating synthetic art and replacing
it's anti-human.
Like, by the way, which movies, people love Michael Mann movies because they're essentially movies about people who are really good at what they do, doing the thing that they do, right? Like everything about them, the way they kind of, the bad guys and the good guys, they're just doing stuff. And you're seeing these people like, moving around and having a plan and just being so, good at what they do. And I think that we appreciate that. And we don't
What's the best Michael Mann movie, Alex, just so
Heat.
I can go watch Heat? Okay.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And we watch these movies, we watch heist movies, we watch people, we watch cooking shows, we watch the guy painting happy little accident clouds, forgot his name now. But we watch that because we enjoy the process. And it's like full on removing that from the equation makes us uncomfortable. Now, it'll seep in, it'll happen, it'll get normalized. And I don't think that a lot of what we'll be seeing in 5 years' time will be entirely human crafted, except for the odd kind of, oddity here. But yeah, like there's a big disconnect between what the audience thinks of it and what
I also wonder, like,
the companies are pitching.
I think the brand problem will get exacerbated with AI slop. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to look at like 99% of the content of everything is going to be slop. It's going to be AI slop, because when you take the cost of creation to zero, you're going to increase the amount of crap to infinity. And that is going to be associated with AI. And so I think, it's just as the same problem of like made in Japan originally after World War II meant cheap. They had to get over that as they moved up the sort of manufacturing. We're seeing this with China. I mean, you still have people who think of like China as like quote unquote like sweatshops and stuff. And they're like, meanwhile, they're running circles around us with advanced manufacturing. I mean, there's a good case to be made that we should actually be doing technology transfer from them and not vice versa.
The slop stuff is also kind of misleading because, I mean, first of all, there's a lot, and there's been a bunch of issues on Spotify where people are raking music, and the fact of it is like some of this stuff is compelling, and the way social media is geared right now, specifically around short videos, is that people will watch weird stuff. So this stuff gathers a lot of views because people are just
some of it's good.
But how is it good, right? Like, is it?
Just purely from my perspective, emotional reaction.
Yeah, but
like some of those baby videos, I like those.
I know, but there's nothing like.
Videos.
I think what the youth is feeling now is that there's like it's culture devouring, right? It's and we're dealing with an issue now that has been brought on by technology. If I can just afford that, it's very short. Is that because our technology has allowed to capture everything that's come before us, and we have access to everything that's come before us, we're no longer just seeing a slice of culture at the time. There was a time in the 80s where you would see very 80s stuff, and you had to really look for the 70s and 60s stuff, and then in the 90s. And now everything is available to us all the time. Not only that, the algorithms are pushing stuff that is older. And so the past is constantly in front of us. It's eating the present. It's definitely affecting the future. And this AI stuff is entirely that. It's entirely like just every creation in the past. Just
that's from Saskatchewan when I was growing up.
The source of everything from the past is the source of what we're generating in the future. So nothing.
This is great. I love this.
It's exhausting, and I think it's but it'll only get better at the same time, and it's also very exciting. And if you're 25 right now and going into media, you can make something without having to ask people for money.
Those are great points, Alex. Honestly, thank you for doing the Theraflu.
Yeah, it's running out. I'm breaking into a cold sweat right now.
This is the Theraflu episode. Very inspiring, Oxy. You've been able to got your way through this one.
Do you want to flip out a good product, Alex? Anything touch you emotionally, physically, mentally this week?
Theraflu has been a great product for me anyway.
What about the Justin Bieber album? That's a good product.
I haven't watched the new Justin Bieber album. I did receive a Switch 2, and I recommend the new Donkey Kong game on Switch 2. It's a masterpiece, and it's named appropriately. It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is a great name, like bananas, but bonanza with bananas. You know, if you love video games or don't love video games, play it.
I used to love Donkey Kong on like the ColecoVision.
Probably not on ColecoVision. It was probably on a Nintendo.
Coleco? I thought it was Coleco.
No, it was probably a Nintendo joint at the time. Yeah, probably.
I could swear it was on Coleco.
I mean, I might have been. I don't know everything, but look at this thing.
Hey, Alex, who's the guitar guy who plays on the new Justin Bieber album? Is great. I love it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thought you were gonna recommend the new Kanye album.
By the way, Coleco did have Donkey Kong.
Oh, did it?
And Donkey Kong
good.
was what powered it to sell 500,000 units in 1982.
That is actually a great piece of trivia that I didn't know. It's like a Nintendo property that exists. Yeah,
that was the peak of my video game.
Hey, Alex, two cultural items if you want to go there. One is...
Yeah, I do want to go there.
So McGee, I don't know, was involved in the production. McGee is this artist that I really like. And
I love McGee.
Yeah, and he's got this really kind of wonky guitar style. When he hits the guitar really hard, it distorts. And so he's managed to get a really unbelievable kind of new sounds out of the guitar by running it through an old 4-track.
To my point earlier, and this anti-AI, there's also there's like a new anti-aesthetic coming up, and I think McGee is part of that. Like everything, it sounds more real, more ugly.
The message.
Put it in the bathroom.
Yeah, and I think that's true with the whole new Justin Bieber album. The other thing that was good is the new Pee Wee Herman documentary, 2-parter, Netflix. Really interesting story of his rise to fame, his sort of cancellation, and he got a little bit of trouble, and kind of how he bounced back, and then his private battle with cancer, and recorded much of the material for the documentary himself and worked really closely with the documentary maker. It's a really touching doc, and it's on HBO, and I'd recommend it highly.
Okay,
wow, look at that. Pull it out at the end.
Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, he got picked up. He was in like some sort of adult movie theater. Was that his?
Yeah, because OnlyFans. There's OnlyFans.
That was the end of an era, truly.
Well, it was also at the time where, being gay and
the whole thing, right? I mean, they were he was really sort of persecuted, and then he was associated with a guy that got busted for porn or child porn.
True story.
They searched his house and they really persecuted him he's a collector, so he had stuff that was, that was kind of adult porn that people, used to persecute him. And rather than getting dragged through the courts, he just kind of took it. It's really sad. That period in 70s, 80s, 90s, it was really hard to be a public gay person. And I think it's incredibly sad.
Javi Lieber had a story in the Wall Street Journal about how you can get an Etsy witch. And what was interesting to me, at least, was I knew the guy that she quoted with getting an Etsy witch. He used to be a creative director at TBWA.
Wait a second. I've never heard about this. When you say, I thought it was like some sort of doll or something like that, but you're actually talking about like renting a witch to make you a spell?
Yeah, everything becomes communications. I didn't know you could do this on Etsy.
Oh, by the way, talk about AI Slop. We're looking at which one would you choose here? So we have a custom spell. It's same-day casting. That's what we want, right? Oh, it's got 5 out of 5. 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Is there anything to learn from the fact that there's demand for witches on Etsy? I mean, I assume that AI is going to lead to an explosion of all kinds of metaphysical religious sects, all kinds of different, we're already seeing signs of a revival of Christianity in Europe and America. The share of young people identifying as Christian rose from 45%
I can think of a few
51%.
folks I'd send a spell to for $16.
Is that why I got COVID? You know what this makes me think is like, meanwhile, we have all these media companies with all these resources going, ooh, I don't know how to make money. These guys figured it out. There's ways to make money on the internet.
Infinite number of ways to
number of ways to make money on the internet. And hey, if you're building a platform that can allow people to get something and pay for it, you'll find people.
Right. We'll do the rebooting custom spell that you can target to.
I'll do that.
Nasty platforms that are.
I'm doing partnerships, so I'll do a partnership with my shaman out of Santa Monica. I like a shaman that like is based in Santa Monica. It gives added credibility.
I mean, some of these go dark, huh? Obsession love spell.
Oof. I'll try that one.
I'd be okay with that. One of the events, my last job, we had a tarot card reader. That was a popular activation. Wasn't that expensive?
I always wonder about those, in such an event. Like, what if somebody pulls a bad card?
That's true. Well, I think they know. I don't know if maybe someone on our events team talked to
What does this one mean? It means Google's SEO algorithm is about to change and you're about to lose 25% market share.
When you do corporate gigs, you know that like you've got to make, it's art, but you gotta make some compromises.
That's it for this episode of People vs. Algorithms, where each week we uncover patterns shaping media, culture, and technology. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Vanya Arsenov. She always makes us a little clearer and more understandable, and we appreciate her very, very much. If you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It helps us get the word out and keeps our community growing. Remember, you can find People vs. Algorithms on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and now on YouTube. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week. All right, well,
Cool. Thanks for making the magic happen yet again.
This was a good one.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.